Welcome to the program of Atheist Centre, Unbound by Cages, written by Jim Herrick. Today, I am going to read out the chapter Past and Future. Gora, though a complete original, was a part of the intellectual and activist movement of the first half of the 20th century. This movement was part of the revolution which brought independence to India. It was a golden age of thought and action, such as that preceding the French Revolution or the Russian Revolution. Gandhi was the presiding genius, the most prominent influence on Gora, and the man whose non-violence and democratic instincts could have brought India to a peaceful new state. The social reforms of the 19th century, contending as they were with this colonial oppression, were forerunners for the 20th century and indeed for the reforming social work of the Atheist Centre. The outstanding figure in the early reform period was Ram Mohan Rai, that is 1774 to 1833, who worked against the caste system and campaigned for a change to the dowry system and the introduction of widows' remarriage. There was also during this period the development of rationalists and reformers giving speeches, writing articles, and editing newspapers. It is hard to judge how much reform was influenced by colonial leaders and how far it was independent and critical of the authoritarian rule. The distinguished economist and writer on culture Amartya Sen has used for the title of the book the phrase the argumentative Indian. He claims that argument was essential to the intellectual development of India. Even the lengthy ancient writings of the Mahabharata is full of disputation as storytelling. The famous Bhagavad Gita is an argument about duty and the consequences of action. The tradition of the Charvaka and Lokayukta are well known to atheists and rationalists as they were to Gora. The Bhakti movement started in the 7th century AD and disseminated their ideas in speech and song. They were radical rationalists questioning every part of society and individual identity. Rationalist groups in the 20th century were influenced by the Bhakti and toured with songs and speeches, particularly in the state Maharashtra. Gora was not alone, but he was particularly his own in his positive atheism and in his desire for social reform to be combined with atheism. He was par excellence and in the best sense of the phrase an argumentative Indian. He believed deeply that talking with others of all beliefs was a way of arriving at the truth and was fortunately a perpetual arguer whose unstoppable arguments were always pressed forward, and even when they met with the disagreements, there was always more room for argument. And Gora never made enemies of those who disagreed with him. Contemporaries of Gora together melded new ideas in the crucible of change. Prison could be a stimulus to new thought, though it was not for this benefit that the British imprisoned their opponents. M.N. Roy, whose adventurous early life included gun running, study in New York, and first-hand view of the Russian Revolution, developed the idea of an Indian Renaissance. For a while, it looked possible, but now even the remaining Roys find it hard to promote his ideas. Freedom of expression and abolition of party strife as the climate of politics put him in a similar bracket to Gora. A leading Royist, Judge Tarkunde stood out against Indira Gandhi's national emergency at risk to his own career. Ambedkar was a man of lower caste who devoted his life to opposing the unjust treatment of Dalits. He was also a member of the Constituent Assembly and was among the principal architects of the body of laws which, in ringing tones, announced the abolition of caste distinctions and proclaimed social equality. Here, he was on the same lines as Gora. Ambedkar went so far as to call for a conversion of lower caste to Buddhism, where caste did not exist. The agnosticism of some Buddhism might have appealed to Gora or would have regarded it too soft. Periyar E.V. Ramaswamy also hesitated vigorously against the caste system and started the English monthly Modern Rationalist. There has been a close relationship between Periyar's followers and the Atheist Centre. Among the post-revolution period, when the fights of reform did not burn so bright, Nehru was at least in theory a reformer, though Gora was bitterly disappointed with his living of the palace style. But in his imprisonment, Nehru had also thought and written much. In his will, he wrote that a small pot of his ashes should be thrown into the Ganges as a symbol of India, but the greater part should be carried up into the air in an aeroplane and scattered from that height over the fields where the peasants of Indian toil, so that they might mingle with the dust and soil of India. Gora did not leave such a will, but without any scattering, he had come close to the Indian peasant and had fought as hard as any to bring about the changes that his contemporaries did. One way of expressing the secularism which all these figures sought was to hold atheist ceremonies for birth, marriage, and death. These ceremonies are frequently arranged by the Atheist Centre because humans are makers of their system and customs. What of the future of the Atheist Centre? It remains an important institution and highly recognized, especially in Andhra Pradesh, but also known internationally. But its social work has had to change because of the change in the relationship with the international donors and also the increase of social work undertaken by the state. It is therefore necessary to the Atheist Centre to be innovative, as it always has been, in finding new ways to bring about social reform. The Atheist Centre is run by 9 children of Gora. For continuity, it is necessary that the grandchildren and probably dedicated people outside the immediate family to play their part in ensuring continuity. There is much to be done in promoting positive atheism and abolishing, in practice as well as theory, the caste system, though it is unlikely that religion will disappear in society. There are many atheists and rationalists and humanists in India, but their organizations are scattered. Perhaps they could be strengthened by firmer links. We all need to work hard, but we also need to be inspired, as we can be when we read of Gora and Saraswati Gora's lives. Amartya Sen quotes Tagore, who emphasized the role of deliberation and reasoning as the foundation of a good society, where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, where knowledge is free, where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert sand of dead habit. Into that heaven of freedom, my Father, let my country awake. Here, we can think of the Father as a secular leader. It is by continuing with the hope and achievement of Gora and Saraswati and the Atheist Centre that we can look forward to greater equality and atheistic understanding. And these are the words written last of this book by the author Jim Herrick. Thank you.
For more videos, please subscribe to our Positive Atheism English channel presented by Samaram channels, which has crossed more than 20 crore views. Please like, subscribe and share our videos, and for notification of our new videos, please click the bell icon.